Howdy, everyone, and happy Sunday night. So, we have finished another week, really kind of our first full week after a half week start on our $100,000 challenge here. On Sunday nights is when we'll most likely be recording our weekly update for you, partly because we have a tradition in our family, which is an old tradition, but we've been able to keep on to this for a really long time, which is just having Sunday dinner together. So Levi and his bride join my bride and I, our two daughters, and we usually I'll say we kind of go all out for dinner. We like to make a nice meal. We hang out, and I think it's really cool because, man, I can't remember in our history ever having a dinner that just wasn't fun. We catch up with each other on what's going on in life. We get a chance to laugh a little bit. Like siblings do, the kids all pick on each other a little bit. Every once in a while, water or food gets thrown around sometimes, but for the most part, it's just been a great tradition. And one of the things I love most about that tradition in our house is when our kids bring friends over who don't have that experience at home. Everybody's so busy in America running, both parents working, kids' activities, and we've had seasons like that in our life. But we've always done our best to try and at least have one meal a week together. And for us, Sunday evening seems to be what has stuck. And so we continue to do that. I'm going to send out, it's just like a 1 minute clip of Levi cooking dinner tonight because we're in transition on some stuff going on in our house. Levi and his wife cook dinner tonight, so we're over at their new place. I'm sitting in his office right now while we're doing this Sunday night weekly update for you. And we had a great meal. He made homemade meatballs, made fresh, his wife made fresh ciabatta rolls, and we had awesome meatball subs for dinner. And so it was great and just really fun. So we've been hanging out, kind of talking about what's going on in life, but also catching up on this new business venture we're joining together. And so we'll start with a little bit of an update. You know, week 2 was really an up and down week. I think we learned a lot this week. We learned about some of the things that will take a little longer for us to produce. We learned about better communication skills with our prospective clients and people that we're working with. And next week's going to be a really big week to get some agreements signed. So we got 2 agreements signed in the first week. So real excited about that. We're generating right now about $400 a month in residual income. And so if you think about that, that's $4,800 a year. With a pretty reasonable profit margin. So we've already started to make an extra $5,000 a year. And by the end of next week, my goal is to up that to at least 15. So we want to accelerate what we're doing. We've got some really good follow-up set up for next week. We've met a few more people. And when we go through the website tour, we'll show you where the statistics are updated so that you can follow along that way, because those are updated in real time. So when we have a discovery session, the free assessment tool is updated. I've also been working heavily on some of the other things. So we finished the editing on a whiteboard session. It's about a 30-minute video for you guys to watch on some of the additional ideas that over the next week or two we're going to launch into the marketplace. So that includes a business plan format. So having my personal experience, and one of the things we talked about is if you have experience in some area, you will be shocked because we're so used to getting either paid by the hour or salary cap by a company that we work for doing the things that we specialize in, that we don't realize how much value there is in the marketplace. I've been working with a couple hundred companies over the last decade, and one of the things I love doing for them is creating an actionable business plan. And so I just finished building out the marketing templates for that. And so over the next week or two, we're going to be launching this business plan opportunity where people can go ahead and do a request for a business plan to be developed. And again, it's going to include action items. It's really going to be a workable business plan. As I talked about in one of the videos, it's not this 72-page version of the SBA version that needs to go to the bank and all this complexity that's going to eventually just sit on the back shelf in a binder somewhere and never be used. This is the kind of business plan that you're going to take out. You're going to work through it. You'll be able to interact with the business plan site that's hosted by me so that you can get some advice along the way. Hey, I'm struggling with the Secretary of State. What should I be doing, or what did I miss on my application? Hey, I'm struggling with getting my bank account right, or what kind of bank account I should open for this new business, and really kind of working through a lot of the logistics of starting a new company. And so that'll be fun to launch, and then some of the other ideas that we're putting together right now as well. So, Levi, what were your thoughts on the first week?
I think Really good. I think, like you said, we've learned a lot. I think trying to figure out the best way to communicate building something for somebody is difficult because it's not necessarily a set product. If you're trying to sell a pin, it's easy to sell the pin versus figuring out what they need to write with. So,
That's right,
and
right.
so,
Yeah, or how they like to write, right? What do you
yeah.
like? Do you like calligraphy ink, or do you want just a ballpoint,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I think that's good, and I think that's a great point because one of the most important things about what our main offering to the marketplace is through this $100,000 challenge is that our goal is to create a personalized solution, not just a box solution. So really taking the SaaS concept where we take software as a service, but we now make it extremely personal to the user. And so that's really good. I like that thought process, but it does come with some challenges.
Yeah.
So what else? What are you thinking?
Um,
What was your biggest success of the week?
I think the speed at which we can deliver things, I think
Mm-hmm.
one of our prospects even, let us know about how quick and professional and the turnaround time on things were. And I think what we can turn around quality wise and quantity wise is impressive now with integrating different AI solutions. So,
Yeah.
being able to turn around something that usually takes a week in
Right.
just a couple of hours, I think is
Yeah.
it's a really big win, especially on the fulfillment
Yeah, I'll
side.
bet, right? I know you've been nervous about that because I really take to heart, Levi, if I forget which episode it's in, but there's an episode where Levi says, I like to say, if you can dream it, I can build it. Man, I have some crazy dreams. So sometimes I get to Levi and he's like, all right, slow down on the dreaming right over there because I got to be able to figure out how to produce this here. But I think it's really cool. And I think one of the best parts that I've experienced is working with you on this stuff from a technical perspective. You understand the technical and you're really good at translating when we go back and I can help to pull out of a prospective client all the things they're looking for, not just a peripheral, because that's, I think, part of the problem. Most people who buy a software have a peripheral problem. I need to get my books done. I need to get my marketing done. They just don't have any specific measures for that. And so our ability to have a good conversation with them, really pull out of them the specifics, helps us to be able to build them a tool that's actually going to fix the problems on first iteration or with minor tweaks going in. So that's pretty fun. What was your biggest challenge of the week?
I think getting feedback on some of the demos
Yeah.
we've handed out, just because I feel like I've worked for a long time to unravel my identity because my identity's been so much of who I am is how well my business is doing. And so if my business is not doing good, or somebody has a piece of negative feedback, or not even negative, just feedback,
Right, right,
I
right.
take that inherently as negative. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
so, yeah.
I think it's a great point for general business owners. One of the things that we're afraid to do is learn through the process. Because of that, we're all perfectionists. We want to, genuinely, if we have integrity, we want someone to get something that's really stinking good. We want to be able to be the best at what we're doing. We want to produce something of great value. And that's really important because I think most people, particularly at this stage in a business, look, we're, 11 days old. This company is 11 days old. We should expect to get some feedback, and some things just aren't going to go perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, in the situation you were talking about, one of the most difficult things and where it really struggles is because the client had some, or the prospect had some responsibility in the qualitative feedback that we received, and started right off the bat, said, I could have done a better job communicating this. And so, like, for me, I take a lot of that to heart to go, okay, it's not just about the deliverable, it's about the relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for me, going back and saying, okay, first of all, I need to slow down and say, okay, once we have so many deals in the hopper, we need to go back and cultivate those relationships, not just build them something that they can use so that we don't lose those relationships. Because as you know, my business, the outside of this, my original business, my accounting firm, is 100% referral based. We do zero marketing, zero networking. We simply are referral based. And that's because we spent so much time cultivating those relationships. And so that was one of my biggest lessons. We need to, and I know, you probably told me from the beginning, we need to slow down a little bit at the beginning, make sure we're truly understanding the clients. And I also know we're going to be able to pick up speed once we're able to find the same solution. Because one of the solutions that we're working through right now, one of the questions I asked Levi yesterday or the day before was, once we build this one, how easy is it to replicate that particular one? So if indeed we're solving this problem for this person, does everyone else in this person's position in the marketplace need this tool, so that we can then replicate it, multiply it, put marketing dollars behind it, and go to market extremely fast, to the point where someone can almost do their own self checkout and say, here's what I want to call it, here's what I want it to do, here are the important things for me, and really start, because we can ask them a bunch of questions. You know, one of the things that Levi has run a digital marketing company for 5 or 6 years now, and one of the biggest challenges in that industry, just like in the accounting industry, is getting quality feedback from your clients on a timely basis, right? And so I went with the philosophy, and I've shared this with a couple of other people before, that I absolutely love. For any of you who have ever been to an eye exam before, when they're testing what looks better in the vision model, they start with this. They have you look in, they've blocked one of your eyes, and they say, tell me which one you can read better, number 1 or number 2. And then you say, number 2. And then they say, okay, how about now, 3 or 4? And so they're putting all of these things in front of you to see which one is the most clear in your vision. And so I feel like the solutions can be driven the same way. Do you like the black background or the white background? And they say, okay, I like the black background. Okay, great. Now, do you like the yellow letters or the red letters? Okay, great. Now we're starting to hone in on what they want. And it's like, do you like the name Bob or do you like the name Sally? Okay, you want a lady, you want Sally. Okay. And then we can continue to work through the solutions. And I love that, because our job as experts in our field, unfortunately, oftentimes feels like it is to provide them with a technical thing. It's a computer program, it's an AI tool, it's whatever it is. But the reality is, we need to solve the problem behind the problem by asking the best questions and communicate really well. And I think I lost track of that a little bit with my excitement and speed of trying to get going. And so as we're working through that, I definitely think that we'll polish that up a little bit in week 2.5, getting started here tomorrow. So you want to take us for a quick tour. So one of the other things we decided to do just yesterday was to update the website. So we are using Casper Workflow Strategies, as will be seen when you get a chance to watch the whiteboard session, as our primary business offering to the marketplace. And it's also going to be the battery for the rest of what we build for the most part. With that in mind, we need to go back and update the website so it's not just this really cool link to seeing the videos and the $100,000 challenge, but it is actually representative of the business. So Levi made some adjustments to that. If you don't mind taking us for a quick tour of what we've updated here. Now, again, take this stuff. Do this on your own. Like, this is an opportunity for you. If you are good at doing these types of things, do this. If you're not good, but you are really good at something else, do something else, but follow the same plan. It really works for many different things. So Levi, if you'll tour us up, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Like Dave said previously, the homepage was all centered around the $100,000 challenge. And so we wanted to make that a little bit more specific to, the business in general. That way, when, new prospects are landing, they're not just seeing the $100,000 challenge. They're actually seeing, yeah, this is a real company. So reworked the header here just to call out, small business owners that want back their time and cash flow. Kind of, pretty powerful, a little bit of a statement piece about how many businesses we've advised over the years, how many years, operating. And then just kind of going into, right off the bat, how we work together. We kind of have 3 different lanes that we can funnel you into, starting with the free workflow audit. Then usually, if we see you're a good fit, we're a good fit, we move into an implementation sprint. And that's where we start to kind of build out what you need, your custom solution. And then depending on what we figure out in the audit, that kind of leads us down the concierge option where, we help you out monthly, or sometimes it's just, hey, we're going to go through this sprint, we're going to build you this tool, and then you want to manage it, you want to do whatever you want with it on your own, then more power to you.
Yep.
And then as we keep going down, just kind of our 4-step approach: diagnose, design, deploy, compound, right? Pretty simple. Want to figure out what your issue is, design a solution for that, deploy it, and then compound. And the compound step, I think, is pretty important because it's kind of that flywheel, right? Where we just keep going over and over and iterating on itself and making it better and better.
Yeah. I really like the compound piece too, because ultimately our goal, particularly with a model where we're asking for recurring revenue month after month, is to increase the value offering that we provided. So we provided steps 1 through 3 for you, which solved your problem. So after we diagnose your problem, we solve the problem. Then we're going to throw a few things on top of that that just make it really stinking good, where you're like going from, hey, that works great, to wow, that's awesome. And so the compound piece is really that wow factor. So I like that very much.
Yep, awesome. And then go down a little bit more, just a little bit about who we serve. This could technically be a really, really long list, but we tried to consolidate a little bit: service businesses, brick and mortar, and trades and professional services. And then as we keep going down, a couple testimonials, and then a little bit about you and I.
Mm-hmm. We're really cool, by the way, if you were wondering. So you can read the bios. You don't have to read the bios. We're just really cool.
And then a little from the field. So this is kind of our blog section that we'll try and update regularly with different learnings. I think there's already 4 or 5 different things about there from some of the stuff that we've deployed so far. So I think that'll be a good place to look, even just for general learnings through AI, things like that.
Yeah, and guys, if you do have feedback for that, throw us comments through YouTube, any of the social media channels, and say, hey, we'd really like to learn more about this. If we don't have the information, we're going to direct you to some of the places where we've learned from and provide you with some really cool resources. So feel free to go ahead and comment and say, hey, I need to know more about that, or just continue to like and subscribe for us so that we can continue to feed you. And then as you have things pop up, interact with us. We'd really love to hear from you and love to understand what you're going through so we can make some specific help catered just to you.
Perfect. And then scrolling down a little bit more, we have a math or a time calculator.
Yeah.
So
this is a new tool for us, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think we put it up the beginning of this week. So definitely a new tool, kind of broken down by industry. And these are all just general numbers when you go, from different industry, right? And then
yeah, so we took some industry specific averages. We put some very simple, easy to understand tasks that you would typically do, such as answering and routing phone calls or reading and replying to email, which I don't know anyone in any business that is at the startup phase or at the singlepreneur singlepreneur stage where it's just us knocking it all out ourselves, or really small where we don't have a huge administrative bank. We're doing all of this stuff on our own. It's just taking up a bunch of our time, and a lot of that can be supported and consolidated. So that's kind of what this workflow audit is for. And so this calculator tool is really good. And so as you go back through and throw in a value for yourself, it'll really make a big impact. So I like that really well. So on the bottom is your team's time. And so you could just average that based on the task. You could just throw if you're doing all this stuff and you want to be worth $150 or $200 an hour for every hour that you're going to be spending some time in, this is how the tools can save you some time that will equate to money. So if you could take 2 more prospect calls because you're not answering the other 80 emails where it's like, yes, okay, see you there, okay, make an appointment. So many of those things can be automated for you. And so this is a workflow calculator to help you with that.
Perfect. And then a little call to action, drive you to the workflow audit.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a footer where you can sign up for weekly notes on what we're building, things that work, things that don't, get these Sunday review videos. And yeah.
Very cool. Awesome, man. So over the next week, Levi, what are some of the things you want to accomplish as we move into week 2.5?
Yeah, I think so. In my personal business, doing digital marketing, like you said, one of the things that I've had an issue with is the feedback from clients. Mm-hmm. And so in that business, I adopted the mindset and I let everybody know, you got on our train. We're getting to the destination, whether you want to or not, whether you fall asleep or not, the train's going to get there.
Right.
So what we would do is if we would send something for a review, we would tell them, hey, here's this marketing package. It's going live on this date unless you tell us to stop.
Right.
So
Okay.
I want to figure out the best way to implement that in our current workflow. And so
Right.
like one of the things with some of the agents is they audit themselves every night and they start to populate a list for me of gaps. And so that we can continually work proactively instead of reactively.
Right.
And then I think you and I've worked a little bit on it this week is I guess the onboarding and quick win kind of nurture sequence. So
Right.
building that out a little bit more to make sure that when we bring on a new prospect, they're actually using the system
Right.
and getting the value, which then leads the agent to self-diagnose any issues. And
Yeah.
that's kind of that compounding that we were talking about that
Yeah.
should propel them forward.
I like that very much. Yeah. And I think that that's really good. And I think one of the things that we have done in the past, and it's something that we just need to make sure that we're holding true to, is that traditional responses are not always accessible. So oftentimes we're like, hey, I sent them an email, and I hate hearing this from business owners. Well, I sent them an email and they didn't respond or that kind of thing. And I hear that all the time. People in the accounting business suck. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but the typical average, say, CPA firm with a few employees doing a bunch of tax returns every year, well, I sent you the organizer back in January. I don't know why you haven't done anything, because they assume that this is the high priority for everybody else. And it only becomes a high priority when they're complaining about them close to the deadline time, when they're going, well, I don't have time to do this stuff now. And that's why 30%, if you Google it if you want, 30% of a traditional accounting firm is lost clients every single year, and they regain them back because they're leaving another person who made a promise they weren't going to fulfill. And so we don't want to be those people. And so sometimes we'll take some fun tactics, like for those of you who remember the Breakfast Club back in the 80s, we'll send them videos like "Don't You Forget About Me," great song, but it makes people laugh and it makes them respond. Sometimes we'll send them silly text messages like, hey, I got Guido from Detroit going to show up at your house tonight if you don't email me back. Just fun things that light them up a little bit, help them to understand that, we've fallen off of their priority radar. Although when they first came to us, they told us we were high on their priority radar. And so we can do some things in the fun of business, but we never forget which side of the table we're on. We work for the client. The client doesn't work for us. So we want to make sure that they understand that, and we want to make sure we portray it in the most fun and professional way possible. So I think that's a good thing for us to be working on this week.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think if I can build the back end to give us that information before the client knows they need it, then I think we're in a really good spot.
Good. I think that's great too, and I love the nightly audits because that'll help us to see some of that as well. And then I think one of the things we need to add to the calendar this week is a weekly review of already deployed resources, so we can go back in and say, how do we make this one thing this week, so that we can go back up to that section that we were just talking about earlier and really do some extra cool things. Send that feedback out to the already paying client to say, hey, your AI agent just got better. Here's a new tool for you to try out. Check this out. Ask that agent this and that. One of the other unique things that we're doing, so as we're talking about this AI workflow, we recognize that voice agency tends to be a very sought after thing, but the voice agents aren't always great. And we have received feedback like, hey, my customers don't want to talk to an AI agent. And I said, you know what, that's cool. And one of the best things is that the majority of the solutions we have, the AI agent is not talking to the customer. They're talking to the owner of the business, and they're doing all the secretarial things. The owner of the business not only knows it's AI, they expect it to be AI. The value proposition is great. The tool is continuing to learn, and the tool is taking so much of the work responsibility of when I get back to the office, I got to do all of these administrative things that could be done with a 3 or 4 minute phone call to your agent as you're leaving the meeting. And so that's probably my favorite tool right now that we built and are deploying. And I also love the replication possibilities of that. So I think next week, my big thing is going to be to potentially target specific industries for that and say, hey, financial planners, insurance agents, real estate agents, any outbound salespeople, street salespeople who are talking to people and need to build better relationships, remember specific data, set up follow-up appointments and follow-up tasks. I think that's going to be a really fun one. So I want to start to market segment those out because I think we can replicate that. I also think the more of them that we build, the cheaper it'll be for the marketplace. For those of you who have ever done business with me in our firm, we do take prices down from time to time because the solution got easier. And so I'm not opposed to doing that down the road either as we start to build these tools out. And if we find quicker, easier solutions and come back to our clients, nothing wows a client more than making that phone call and saying, hey, we've got an even better solution that'll cost you less money. You do nothing. I just want to let you know your bill is going to go down by 20% starting next month. I mean, they're like, I don't understand what you just said. That doesn't happen, you know, and with the things that we're building, we have the possibility of doing that. And so that excites me too, because that just increases the value that we're delivering to the marketplace. So very cool. All right. Any words of advice or suggestions based on the startup of this new venture with us?
Just start.
Just start.
I think that's what I've said from the beginning is just start, do something, and it's probably going to be terrible the first time, but at least you learned how to do something.
Right. You know? Well, and I'll tell you, the first time was not terrible. It was actually really good. But you're right. I mean, I love that. And man, just get going. If you have a need or a want or a dream, don't wait. Get something going today. Pick up 15 minutes, 2 or 3 days next week, and just take action on that goal so that you can start to see traction. And if you're consistent with it, then it's just so powerful. I've heard sayings before. There's a bunch of different people who've said it in a bunch of different ways, but they say persistence will kill education over time. Right? If you just keep working at it 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes every day, you will achieve so much over time that I don't care if you got an MBA and knew all of this stuff in advance. If that guy never starts, he'll never gain traction. So get to work, get busy starting. We will have some during the week updates. I'll be a little bit shorter, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there. And as I mentioned, I'm going to share a video with Levi making those meatball subs for us and some other things like that. As I mentioned earlier, if there's stuff that you want to hear, we are not just specific to this business. As the statistics on the screen right now will share with you, I have had the opportunity to work with over 250 different companies in about 30 different industries, and there's a ton of transferable information here, and we have tremendous resources to truly help business owners. So please make some comments. Request some feedback. We're glad to interact with you. And that's really why we're doing this to begin with. We want to show you that no matter what you're doing, you can take control of your financial outcome. So thanks so much for joining us. Make sure that you subscribe in the link below. Make sure you share these videos with some friends. You can just hit the share link, and there's a bunch of different ways on YouTube that you can share them. Like and connect with our like and follow in our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and we'd love to see you in any areas that are most convenient for you. Thanks so much, and we look forward to giving you a great week this week.
See ya.